Hey guys, Patrick Webb here. You are watching a podcast in a lovely auditorium of ANIs, and I am joined today with Emil. G'day, mate.
Yes, hello. Hi there.
Nice of you to join. Nice of you to be on the
thank you to
podcast.
have me, for having me here. It's really something great, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Emil is a mad writer.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What do you do? Where you come from?
Yes, actually, I have had my film education in Tunisia, so North Africa, and since my mother is Norwegian, so like every student who just graduates, he's thinking about making the big bucks, and so I had this idea to make a feature film because I tried to write it as a short story, but or a short film. I couldn't get it to be less than 40 minutes. So came here, had this idea to shoot this feature film. Yeah, still in the process of making that, and here I am. That's why I am Noria.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And we're at the moment in Bø. And you're based in Fyresdal.
So 2 hours from here. Yeah.
2 hours from here.
2 hours from here.
And you are also trying to create a short film.
Yeah.
Or a documentary. In Fyresdal.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, at first I want to talk about a little bit how we ended up here.
Yeah,
because
of course, important, definitely.
Yeah, that's very important. At least for me, it's very important. And what happened? Fyresdal is a really small place. Like Bø is a big city, and when I had this idea to shoot a film and everything, I went to do this pitch meeting and stuff like that. And
where
also,
was that? That was up in Oppdal? No.
Yeah, it was in. It's after Oslo. It's I don't know the name. I'm not sure.
Hamar.
Yeah, something about Hamar. Yeah. We're both bad in Norwegian. But what happened is I joined this film group in Norway, which the Bø Film Club helped me. The woman who works there, she sent me a couple of links to these groups.
Oh, great!
And I don't quite remember, but I think you made a comment, or did you? Or I sent to you.
Potentially, I think maybe somebody recommended me.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Because there was a guy in the film Folk fra Telemark. And I think it was one of the guys, and he's just like, just get in contact with Patrick, maybe he's doing something.
That's what happened, essentially, because I posted, I said, okay, I joined this group, and I said, it's basically a film group for the state, for people who work in video or film. And I said, I just came here, I don't know how things go, and someone recommended your company. And I just sent, hi mate, yeah, I'm here, this is what I'm doing, and you're one of the ones who, or maybe the only one who replied. Okay. And
I mean, it's not surprising really, that...
No, but a lot of people don't reply because someone with no experience coming to this new place, and you yourself, you had a lot of stuff to do and a lot of work, and it's not like a normal thing to, at least... from my knowledge, but later I came to find that that's not true. People actually...
I guess people are busy as well,
Yeah.
Like, I was busy at that time, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm interested to hear your story. I'm interested to get to know you, because it's always this thing of like, if you deny a chance of a connection, then you're really denying your chance of something in the future.
Exactly.
Of anything. I mean, we're sitting here right now because I was like,
you replied.
Why not?
You replied, yeah, exactly.
And there's so many things of a conversation that can be had by just giving a little bit of time. I mean, you've got to prioritize that. And I was prioritizing my time at that time, saying, hey dude, I've got nothing really for you right now, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing in the future for collaborative work, for doing something. And right now we're doing a podcast together.
We're doing that, yeah.
So it's
no, but I wanted to say, because it was a different experience, because you took the time and you called me on the phone. You talked for at least 40 minutes.
Maybe more.
And that's one of the phone calls, and You just you empty out your schedule. You had this 1 hour for me, and you were talking, explaining to me how things work here. Maybe you can do this and that. And it's a very big jump for someone who doesn't know the film industry in this country and how things work. And it helps a lot to just reach out and really try to connect with these people, because eventually you can end up talking to a Patrick.
Yeah.
And, and he will help. He will help. And so it's fascinating the help you can find in your line of work and the arts or craft, and it really helped me a lot. So for anyone there, you just reach out. Call,
just reach out.
Yeah, reach out, send a text, whatever. Reach out.
I mean, we have a saying in English, at least, that if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
You know, this kind of thing. And I think one of the big reasons why I put a lot of effort into to making sure that contact is made, and that we are talking to one another as people, kind of thing, and also you never know.
Exactly.
That I was also in that position to begin with. I came here to Norway, totally fresh. Was like, okay, I'm going to start a business in film production, but I've got no leads. I'm totally new here, totally fresh. Everybody's circumstance is very different, mine as well. But I was super appreciative of the help that I got from people. When I called someone up and said, "Hey, dude, I don't speak Norwegian, and I'm just super new here, and I'm talented enough that I know that I'm comfortable with what I do. Have you got anything for me? Do you know anyone who may know someone who may know someone?" And actually, like, shaking the tree long enough, and I still shake the tree today, you know. And this is like, it's good to be in contact with people. It's good to talk with people. It's good to have a conversation, even if it's no job or anything like that, or if you do get a collaborative work but don't expect money, or if you do get a job and you get cash, it all works its way for that experience to evolve and develop. You know, especially for a foreign person coming into a country that has a great film industry and a great film people. Like, I really find that the people here in Norway are very friendly and very open. But like most things, it takes time, you know. But I was super grateful for actually the guy I had on the first podcast, Liu. He was one of the first guys who reached out to me and said, "Hey, you know what, I need a cameraman to come and film this documentary, but I don't have a big budget. I can pay for your ticket and food and stuff like that, but I can't pay you for your job, unfortunately." And I took that as an opportunity. I took that as a serious, like, opening.
But even though by that time you're a professional, this is not something, because you were in Germany, you were in Australia, and you worked in France, and so even as a professional, you didn't you accepted even without pay.
Definitely, because I'm starting from the beginning again, so to say, and that's something that is, I guess, quite difficult for a lot of people to get to grips with, particularly if you've been. I mean, I understand it. Like, if you've been working in the industry or working in any job for a long time, and that you have to start over again, it is frustrating.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not really starting from the start again. You're just starting with meeting new people, and actually, I find that to be actually quite exciting. To meet new people. Exactly. Because if you're in a place and you're used to it and you know how it works and it goes this, that, the other. Time goes by pretty quickly. But say, for example, you come to a new place, like being in Germany, for example, or coming here to Norway, it was a constant networking thing, and it was always led to meeting different people who I wouldn't meet in the normal day. You know, in my normal day, I go to the supermarket. I may say hello to people if I walk past them or whatever, but reaching out in that way is very different.
Exactly.
And you as a professional, an entity, like when you're wanting to direct a film, create something, and when you come to me and you go like, "Hey, look, I do this," it's interesting for me, because I'm like, "Oh, hang on, he's reaching out to me. There's something special there."
And you have to in this business. You have to.
Yeah.
any other, but especially this one, you have to be very social. You have to accept. You have to reach out. Like you said, even though you're considered elsewhere as a professional, but in Norway you're starting a new connection, a new. You have to accept certain things. You have to. Well, I didn't come here as a professional, so it was a bit different for me when I reached out. But yeah, that's how it should be. That's how it is.
But I mean, I guess for you, you're coming here. You're looking to start a profession.
Yeah.
You're looking to start the profession in writing and directing and stuff like this. So I feel like that maybe that's where you start to be professional. You may be studying still. I mean, I'm still studying a lot of things. I read books. I look at YouTube. I do all this kind of stuff. I study. So the studying never really stops. I feel,
and it shouldn't.
And it shouldn't. Really,
yeah.
should stay kind of curious. You go, okay, what's fresh? What's new? What's different? Or look at older things and practice the older ways. You know, and that's something that is constantly in transformation, in constant movement of popularity and whatever. But having said that, like when you come to me and you say to me, it's like, hey, look, and I've got this idea and I do this. Are you reaching out as a professional then? Are you actually now started as a professional in writing? You're talking about pitching, you're talking about writing scripts. You've come pretty much fresh out of school from Tunisia.
Yeah, last year,
Last year. So now you are, I would say, considering being professional. No?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I'm if there is like a scale, I'm at the first point of that scale. I'm starting to enter in this. I'm trying to force my way into this professional realm, and I started like anyone should start, and how everybody starts. Well, with my experience, the simplest thing I can do, or not the simplest, but the easiest way in, I would think, is to pitch and have these pitch competitions or pitch festivals and stuff like that. And I found one here, so I reached out to them and they accepted. Yeah. And I didn't think they will accept. Like when I reached out to you, I didn't know that I'm going to get a reply, but I know I will regret it later that I didn't reach out to anything. Yeah. Even though the pitch or the summary I wrote to the pitch festival, it was just, for me at least, it was a bit of a joke, because I was writing it on the bus and I had only 20 minutes. And I had 1 hour to write it, because the festival will end in 1 hour, and I was between flights and in bus, and I had my laptop is big old laptop, so I was writing, and I knew I was sure I'm not gonna get accepted. This is messed up English and grammar and stuff like that, and this is a Norwegian festival, and because I asked them a day before, can I write in English? They said yeah. So I wrote it, and. And later on, I found it in my junk mail that I got accepted, and it was supposedly the day of the pitch, 10th of November. But actually, because of Corona, well, that was good. Actually, the only good thing I got from Corona, that they changed the date to 2 weeks later. So I had to work on that. But for me, I never worked professionally to write a pitch, because. A pitch in film industry, and it's not easy. It's something you have to put everything you have, because this is a pitch to get funding to write the script, to start doing the research, because it's a historical. The festival is about films about war and peace and conflict, so you have to do some research. And
of course.
You have to, even if it's not, even if it's fiction,
you still have to do research.
You have to. And I didn't know anything. And the problem is, on YouTube, at least what I found, and forums and all that, it's really almost, I would say, almost the same thing. They all say, because. You will find mostly American way of pitching, and if you're not in the US, that's really not good, because they have a really different thing there. And I for myself, I don't like that way, because it's really dry, if I can say that. You don't feel the film. If you, for example, you have a film about your life and you had it a really tough life or something like that, you're gonna talk about the death of a family member, you can't just recite it like my father died 85 and I was going. It's really bad. It doesn't. So I didn't like that way. So I didn't write my pitch in that way. Well, it didn't help much. I didn't get the funding, but at least the jury actually, if he wasn't lying, but he liked my script, my pitch, and he took a copy. And I think one of the only ones, he followed me outside. I was having a smoke, and he wanted a copy of the pitch. And he's the lead juror, or I don't know how to say it, and. He actually liked it, but eventually they are producers, and they will get the script that has the most potential, and that can sell.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to. It's unfortunate that you have to consider that, but at some point you have to. You have to. If you're not lucky, and if you're not the next, I don't know, Tarkovsky or Hitchcock, or if you're not that genius, who knows? You can be. You can be. And even Bergman, he didn't like the first films he did. He said it took him at least, 6-7 films after he started doing the films he really liked. But that doesn't mean that you can't start doing what you love from the start. But actually, it was a really fun experience, and it was really, really good. And they liked the way I wrote, because I wrote very, very differently than what the other people did. And they all had the same way of writing.
Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah.
Like the way they were writing
Exactly.
opposed to the way you were. What are the differences there? Like, I'm curious to how you pick that apart, that technical nature of it, to make it in a simple term somewhat. For at least for me to understand.
No, because it was fun. And normally if you see on forums and websites and videos on YouTube, they will say, okay, first you will start with the title and the length and the genre. That you do that automatically. It's like filling your name on a test paper. And you say the genre, then the type of the film, and then you say... you can say, or one of the videos and the forums, they will say, you can say a little bit about a summary, a bit of a summary, or what do you call it? Forgot the word.
Like synopsis? Maybe?
Yeah, synopsis, synopsis, or they have a log line.
Yep.
And then you can develop a little bit, and you can even talk about one particular scene. And you can explain that scene, and you can recite it how it's written in the script, or the early pages of the script, or the first sheet. And it's really dry. It's like, for example, if this is a film, I would say, Patrick's podcast, documentary, 83 minutes long, or something like that, if you know that by then. It's a story about two guys having a podcast in Bø in the winter of Norway. And then you will say, the first scene we see him driving alone, and then he picks up this guy. It's really dry. You don't get...
It's a descriptive.
Exactly. I keep calling it dry, and I don't know why, but it's...
For you it's dry.
Yeah, for me it's very dry. It lacks that Bukowski say, the juice. And for me it's true, because he was talking about poetry and books. He said each phrase, each sentence have to have some juice to it. And it's the same for a script, even though that script is literally dry, because you can't...
It's literal.
Literal. And you can't put emotions in a script. You can't write description if you don't need them. If you really need the guy be wearing a hoodie, a blue hoodie and a blue shirt, you have to write that. But if you don't need that, you don't write that. No. If you have a cafe in your mind, that a specific one, you write it down. If not, it's just a coffee place. It's not any. So what I do is,
because that's important for, like, if you're making the film,
exactly,
that the art department can get the props together to put the coffee there.
And a set design, production design, and
costume, everything.
Yeah, because if you work in costumes and I say, okay, this guy have to have 10 rings, and each ring is this, but it's just the picture you had, and it's not important to the story. It will not add something, and that's really bad, because it will take from the budget, it will take from, and you have to have a reason for everything. You have to have a reason for everything, because, like you said, I don't know, maybe you imagine it having a dolly zoom or something like, and you don't have any reason. So it's just a guy with his zoomed in. It's you have to know each thing. In a pitch, or even later on, if you don't have a pitch, if you're lucky enough and you found a production to help you, the producer, the executive producer, will ask you, do you need this? He will cut it short. He will take out the things he don't. He finds that not important to the story.
Yeah.
So to go back to the pitch, what I did is, okay, I said it's a story about Second World War in Fyresdal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my logline. I didn't have a synopsis. because I felt a synopsis is. It's like watching a trailer before you go to a movie. It takes away a little bit of the experience, because we know the Hollywood puts all of the great shots in the trailer, and
to
maybe
get people in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if just to go off a little bit, but sometimes I've seen trailers, and then I felt like I haven't seen those scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah. Because.
Not that I've been totally looking out for it, but I feel like sometimes I look back on the trailer after seeing the movie and been like, I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, no. I worked as a film photographer, which is not film photographer 35 millimeter. No, it's production photographer, and
like behind the scenes photographer.
Yeah, and even during shooting, and. Why they have, you say, why they don't just because they use the film photographer to have the poster later, because the poster most of the time is not in the film. You don't see that shot in the poster. You don't see that. And that's because of the film photographer, the production photographer, because I translate directly from French. And what they do is, while you're shooting, they're taking other angles and stuff like that, so you can use it later. And in some cases, they have videographers also who will take the same shot, or even the director himself, or you have another director who will do the trailer, and it depends on the budget and the film and what are you doing with it and which audience, and if you're going to send it to China, it will be slightly different maybe, and we've seen that happening. So most of them, the different angle, different perspective, something like that, yeah.
That's quite interesting though, when you think about it. Like,
it is.
How that plays on the whole selling of a film. You know, there are so many elements actually within the film industry. It's kind of like, where do you get started?
Yeah.
You know, like when we were having a conversation on the phone about talking, okay, it's great being in a big production, but sometimes it's nice to be in a small production, you know, different.
The freedom,
Yeah.
The freedom and less money. But some cases, exactly. But at the trailer also you can have, normally you will have, because nothing is concrete in cinema, so I can't say this is how it is and this is how that. So in trailers normally they have a different editor, and we've seen that happen in, I think, the film, I'm not sure, Apollo 13. He had a shot that had dialogue and stuff like that, so the editor actually changed everything. He cut it like so differently and made it a different scene with a different dialogue with it.
Okay.
So that can happen also in a trailer. You can and I actually love doing that. I love having if you send me a short film, I love to cut it another way and make another story out of it with maybe no dialogue at all, or just music, or
because you're trying to get some sort of emotion or a different angle out of it. I mean, because everything could be manipulated a little bit, you know.
It is.
And when I say manipulation, it's not necessarily a negative thing entirely.
No.
But just to create a different story, a different feeling, and that's quite interesting though. Like to have a look at it, because if I look at a film in a certain way that I look at it, I'm very kind of like down one path kind
Exactly.
of person, and I like to do my task and do my job and just I don't know. I have that idea, but to like look at that idea again and figure out how to clip it and cut it to see if it can make a different story.
Yeah.
I haven't really like ventured much down that way really to go, okay, how do I make another story from a story? That's quite interesting.
Yeah, we had that in editing class. We will get the same. What was fun is we had different trailers or shots from series or even ads and publicity or adverts, and we had to cut them to make them into a story, and they're completely different. One is about a nose spray, another one is about car insurance and stuff like that. So it's really fun. Yeah. And in my case, the easiest thing to make up these types of clips is horror. It's very easy to have them in black and white or something like that and have sound. But it's really fun how you can manipulate it to make something, and you can do exactly that with writing.
Yeah. Okay.
I came to find out that I don't per se read as much as other writers do, or because for me it's like you said, I have my own view of things, and but I'm very easily convinced to change stuff, and but not the script, maybe the pitch, and and with my pitch, then what I did is what I call injecting.
Okay.
And or dosing. Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah. What I did is, because if you have a synopsis, because in synopsis you have to have the characters, the protagonist, the antagonist, the action or the event and what happens or something like that, or the question, and I really hate that. I hate that because it takes away from everything.
Yeah.
And if you say movies or a video is an experience, you took away from it.
Yeah.
So what I did is I did it like almost like it's like a poetic writing, or it's like a novel or writing a short story, something like that. With each paragraph or each line or whatever you want, you add a new element. Okay. So the first I talked about the space, which was in the countryside and everything. When you first hear it or read it, you don't know what's the story about. You don't know what time, in which era, or when, who are the people, the event. So at first I talked about the place, a place where everything goes slow, and because it's very far in the countryside, nothing happens there. And I talked a little bit about that. So now you understand the space more. You have an idea about that. And then I injected the time period, which is in 1940s, and I said I talked a little bit more about that, what's happening during that time, and what's the main events and stuff like that, and automatically would know it's Second World War. And then in the third paragraph, I talked about my protagonist. And then I talked about the event. Mm-hmm. But in my case, the event doesn't go to the end of it. It doesn't, like in every story, you have the climax at the end where everything is resolved or not, and you have or not. Yeah, of course, everybody could die, and and in the middle you will have these zigzag things, these turns and stuff. But mine was like after 40 minutes because I wanted it to be longer than 2 hours. Yeah. The film. So I would think between 40 minutes and 1 hour. That's when that story would end. My story with the protagonist would end. Okay. And what will happen then is, when you read the pitch, I want to make you listen to me. I don't want you to look away. I want you to really focus on that. And when I give you one by one thing by one thing, you start to. It's like putting this, what do you call it? This chocolates on the floor, and you're following.
Raisins,
yeah, raisins exactly, or bread, or
whatever.
whatever works for you. And for me, it's cigarettes. But if you
put some cigarettes in coffee along the way, it's like, oh, there it is.
exactly, I would be so happy. And that really helps, because I'm giving you one element by one element, and you're building your own story. You think, but that's how I'm building it to you. I'm giving you the first important thing for me was the space, so I put it in first, and later on it's the time, so you have an idea what's happening then, because it's really different. But you've seen other movies, so you know about the second, already learned about it in school and stuff like that. And then I have the protagonist and everything, and then the event, and then it's it's a bit cliche to say the element of the shock, but in a way it could be. It could be if that's what you're writing about. And what I did is I changed the idea completely after it arrives to this conclusion or climax. You would think, okay, that's it. Okay.
Of the protagonist.
Yeah, of the protagonist and the story and the event. In my case, it was a story about this woman. She got arrested by the Nazis, and then she got out. So you would think, okay, that's good. That's cool, because we seen the struggle and everything. But later on, I put it into another direction, or I switch lanes, or what you call it.
You focus differently on the story.
Yeah,
you focus on another story.
It's like there is this director, like Wong Kar-wai. He have a film called Chungking Express, where it's
Chungking
Express.
Okay,
Interesting
name.
Yeah, it's really he made In the Mood for Love. It's a bit known, but he's a Chinese director, and he have this film where you follow what you think is a protagonist, and you're following him for 1 hour or half an hour or something like that, and you have his internal, you have these really long, fascinating monologues, the guy speaking to himself and the stuff and all that. But later on, that story gets resolved, or not, or it doesn't come to a conclusion. And how he changes to another character is just by this guy walking into a shop, and another guy walks in, and he walks out with the camera and follows him. So it's quite as simple as that, and as easy as that. You can just switch focus. If you have two people here, and I was following you from your house to here, and now I can switch to me, and you can follow me to my house, and now you know my story. So it's that kind of way.
So in a way, the connection there is the proximity, I guess you could say.
Yeah, proximity, yeah.
So say, for example, it is convenient to switch stories then in that way, because there is a crossing of paths of those stories in that. They were both in the shop at the same time. So therefore, okay, his story is finished because he's got his fish.
Yeah, exactly.
And now the other guy is like, well, I need to go get some spices from the next shop. So you follow this guy, who happens to be also equally as interesting because he is a person or an individual. So there's always a good story in the individual. I mean, that's kind of also interesting, because, you know, like what we often see with cinema or stories, whether it be novels or movies that come from the United States or from England or from Germany, whatever, there are very many ways to go about things, and it's interesting as a person who consumes, like me. I consume a lot of this media, and I like to see what people produce and how, like, cinema evolves.
Exactly.
And, you know, the big movies that are coming out of Munich and the big movies that are coming out of, say, London or Los Angeles or France even. I mean, I find the French have a very not all French, but I'm saying some of the movies that come out of France are very, very different, I feel, in their way of focus and the way the story goes. There was one movie which I really enjoyed. What's it called? Intouchables. Intouchable.
Untouchable. Yeah.
And this is the story about the street guy.
No, I didn't see it, but
you haven't seen it. Okay, well, I won't ruin it for you. But
no, it's okay.
But essentially, that it's an interesting pitch of a story, because you have this focus on two unlikely worlds coming together and being in harmony, you know. And I think this is very French, you know, in some aspect of the culture, from what I understand. I understand a little bit, not a lot, but from what I do understand, I find that the French culture has this conflict. You know, if you think about La Révolution, you know, this whole thing, you know, that's ingrained within the society. So, like, there is always something to argue about, you know, and then philosophy is pushed.
But I would think, could be maybe another podcast, but it's the problem of how we consume things. That's why we find things differently, and we were all how do you say, we're all children of that generation that of Hollywood, because
we're subject to it because it's pushed upon us, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's pushed upon us, and the French, they started making movies before the Americans, actually, much before, but it's all because of the Second World War, and because no war happened in the U.S., so they had more money to make films and stuff like that. So it collected all the genres.
There's something interesting. I went through a phase of watching old Japanese films, particularly films that came out of after the Second World War.
Okay.
And some very fascinating films that were really long, and the story was super slow.
Yeah.
This particular story was about a family, and it was an old man and an old woman wanting to visit.
Tokyo Story?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
About an old man and old woman wanting to see their children, but their children not having enough time because they were living their life and whatever. But they were always very like, they wanted them to come visit because they liked the idea of it. But then when they came and visited, they wanted to like put them in the spa or wanted them to go and visit someone else because they didn't really want to hang out with them. And then the story was really sad, you know, spoiler alert, but the story was very sad after, I think, 3.5 hours, maybe long the film was. So it was very sad because the woman, she felt sick and tired, and she passed away. Yeah. And then the old man was very like, you know, sad. But then there was that conversation within the family of like, well, who's going to get her kimono, or who's going, I don't know if it was kimono, excuse me for that, like, ignorant remark, but like this stuff like talking about, okay, what she got that I can have, or when dad dies. Yeah. And it was actually a very moving story for me, because I saw like the subsequent humanity in it. And I think that's a very interesting way to write a script, but also like post World War II, you know, you had this depression, you had this social disrupt. You had this like very strange developing society. I mean, if you were to look at Tokyo from after World War II, you know, of course after the dropping of the bombs and all this kind of stuff, to where Tokyo is today, it's a very different story. But that's also reflected upon the whole world.
Yeah, even the Italian, they had their own movements. Taiwan had its own movements. Portugal, Latin America, they had all movements. Korea, course, exactly. China, Soviet Russia, not Soviet Russia, but they had their own movements, and
cinema followed that.
Yeah,
and stories followed that.
Exactly.
I mean, just to touch base with the Russian one, from my understanding, there was a lot of censorship of what you could write. Art was very controlled, you know,
because it had one production company, was state-owned, and
And when you have that state-owned thing, you only have one voice.
Exactly.
But what could be very exciting is to somehow later on, you know, again, probably another podcast, but to dig deeper into finding stories that people wrote in those times of oppression.
I'm very fascinated by that, because I know some of it. We're not so oppressed in Tunisia, but some of it was. But Iran, for example, they have one of the greatest films, and they always get Cannes and Palme d'Or and all that. The people they have, the directors, it's so fascinating, and it's because of the culture ministry is held by the opposition, so they have more freedom in that sort. But you can't film whatever you want. There is big censorship. You can't have a guy wearing a tie in Iran in a movie.
Why so?
Yeah, because
it's of censorship.
Because it's American and it's represented.
Okay.
So really small detail. You can't have a woman and a man, at least before, a woman and a man that are married in one scene. And that creates another possibility.
Yeah.
And you have this one of my favorite directors. Do we have still?
Yeah, we.
His name is Panahi, Jafar Panahi. He got he had what do you call it? A case and a trial, and he couldn't make movies anymore. They had 20 years ban of not going out of the country, leaving the country, and he's not allowed to write any scripts or direct any movies for 20 years.
Whoa.
And he got 5 years in prison, but he got that down to 2. I don't know if he spent any time in prison, but after the censorship, at least for me, his movies got a lot better.
Okay.
at least for me, because I don't know, maybe if you don't know his situation, you will find them ridiculous, maybe, because but the censorship, in a way, and that's why we like festivals, because they give us a theme, they give us a word, something. That's the creative process. Sometimes it's nice to have some what you call restraints. And for him, okay, it isn't the best of cases if you're not allowed to make films. So the first film he made after coming out of prison, it's called This Is Not a Film. And he got the title from Ceci ce n'est pas un pipe from René Magritte, This Is Not a Pipe. But he shot it with his phone, and he's a professional. He's a director that won in I don't know, Academy Awards or not, but the biggest of prizes and awards and all that. And now he's shooting on his phone at home, and he still made a fantastic film.
Because he's got a compelling way of telling a story.
Yeah, maybe it's also because we know that he was trialed, and some of that maybe it's unconsciously when we were watching that, or it just films. It's really good. His films are really, because it's not about the gear. It's not about, okay, sometimes it is, but in some ways, if you want to tell a story, you can tell a story.
Yeah.
And he have another one called Taxi Tahran, which is he imposes. He's like. Imposes as a taxi driver, and he have these cameras installed, and he picks up all these people, and it's all throughout the city, and it's fascinating, easy film, and he didn't shoot on a beautiful red camera or Alexa, or he shot in his phone and maybe a small GoPro and something like that, and so, the possibilities are endless, really, endless. But censorship, yes, in some cases you have fantastic pieces of art, but I think it will be too much. I have too much to say about that. It could be another podcast, but yeah.
I think on that one we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
And we'll go and have a sip of water and
cigarette,
use the toilet, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So we'll be back after a little bit to talk more on all of this magicalness.
Fantastic.
Cool, man. Let's have a break.
Yeah.